Hello, hello, friends of the light, fellow friends of the light. My name is Sarah. If I don't know you yet, that's my name. I'm a numerologist and a patriot, and I am definitely very, very concerned and involved, and just like all of you, trying to do my best to um, utilize whatever gifts I have been given for the better good. So, with that being said, I was speaking with a couple of friends of mine, and they suggested that I do this for a couple of reasons, just to maybe for fun, because other people like to know about it, but also because there's a special request that we're going to have about it that is really important. Um, so what I've done basically is I have calculated the numerology charts for four different politicians here. We do have, of course, President Trump. His is an amazing one. We'll do his first. Actually, we'll do his last. I think we'll do his last. That'll be a fun. Yeah, we'll definitely do that. So anyway, we'll start with Mr. Biden because it's kind of like the lowest energy here, and it's accidentally low. It's not even like intentionally low. It's just dumb low. And then we have, and then we'll go ahead and do Mr. Obama's. We'll go ahead and do his, talk about a little bit of his numbers and how they really play into events and kind of his role as POTUS years ago. We'll go ahead and we'll have to do HRC, so that'll definitely be a trip. And last but definitely not least will be President Trump. Oops, excuse me. So guys, sometimes when I do readings, I pretty much felt their energy already. I understand it and I know what I'm going to say about it, but there's some times that I do just have to, I'll feel something and I just have to kind of stop and breathe for a second. So if you'll allow me those moments, I would appreciate it. Okay, without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So the basis of numerology is this. Everything in life breaks down to numbers, and there are 12 basic digits in everybody's chart, and that's going to be the numbers 1 through 9, and then 11, 22, and 33, which are your master numbers. We'll get to those in a moment. 1 through 9, all numbers can break down from 1 through 9. Of course, that's when we begin repeating those basic 9 numbers. And you will notice as you get further down the rabbit hole of numerology that the numbers right next to each other, so like 1 next to 2, 2 next to 3, and so on and so forth, when you have numbers like that, sequentially, they are almost all times going to have contrast from the energy before it, from the number before it or next to it. So, for instance, 4 is the home, 4 is builder, it's also justice, and then 5 is like free spirit, travel, change, movement, tons and tons of movement, lots of energy, whereas the 4 is very rigid and strict. So everything in its place where it's supposed to be. So again, differing energies there. 1 is the father, 2 is the mother, 3 is the child. Okay, so a little bit of that. And then everybody has a basic chart of 5 numbers. So your most weighty number, of course, is going to be your life path number. That's why you're here. That's your whole purpose. And then next we have our birthday number, which is kind of like our everyday energy. So if life path is the destination, what we're supposed to do eventually and ultimately in life, the birthday number is the journey. Okay, so it's our everyday energy, the parts of us that don't change. And then we have our expression number, which is calculated from certain letters in your full name. Next we have our personality number, which is calculated from other numbers in your name. And then lastly, the heart's desire, which is calculated from a third set of numbers from your name. All right, so with all of those basics covered, let's go ahead and get started. So Joseph Robinette Biden was born on 11/20/1942. That breaks down to, or deduces down to a 20, which means he would be a life path 2. So once again, speaking of the 2 is the mother energy. The 2 is the quiet, reserved, nurturing mother, loving, generally loving. No wonder he's Creepy Joe, because he's always trying to like snuggle up with people, I guess. um, acting like a mother, that really would make sense. In that regard, like how a mom is always doting on their kids or something, and like why he'd be snuggling up in little girls' ears and trying to kiss them on the head. Like that's how a mom would be. That's kind of funny. And it's really funny because of the fact that that's his birthday number. That's his birthday energy too, because he was born on 11/20. So 2 plus 0 is 2. So he really has that, like, he probably likes to, I don't know, this is weird to say, but maybe he likes to cook for his friends and family, or he likes to cater for them. Like food is love to him. And there's probably a lot of people over at his house a lot. Twos generally always have their friends and family over at their house all the time. Okay, so moving on, let's talk about his expression number. So this is where we start to get into a little bit of trouble here. Our expression number is how we present ourselves to the world based upon our numbers, our experiences, environmental factors, so on and so forth. Joe's is an expression of 8. So anybody that knows anything about numerology knows 8 is the most powerful number in numerology. It's the most volatile number in all of numerology. 8 can be the devil or 8 can be an angel. 8 can be winning a lotto ticket, and it could be a devastating loss of a lifetime. However, the 8 is very resilient. If you think about the shape of the 8, so it's like, you know, either 2 balls or the infinity symbol. So what you put in, you get out. Karma, money, power. And it's also, you know, if you were to drop that 8, it would, you know, as a number, it would literally bounce. So it's also very resilient. I call the 8 the ultimate phoenix because they will dive themselves. It's 11:38 right now as we're speaking. They will dive themselves into the ground and crash and burn, but they will build themselves up bigger and more successful than they were before, and they do it quicker than anybody else, and they can do it multiple times. So the 8 is the manifester. The 8 will be... The 8 is oftentimes looked at, people look at the 8 and they're like, how the hell did you do that? How can you keep doing that? I'm struggling and I worked my butt off and I'm a good person and you're kind of slimy and you're getting all this favor in life. Like, where does that come from? And it's because the 8 just has a way of, the 8 is the influencer. So where the 4 and the 1 are the true leaders, the strong leaders, the righteous leaders, the 8 is the influencer. He's the manifester and maybe the manipulator, the magician. All 8s have the choice to either be good or bad. And it is an epic choice for them. Most 8s will really become accustomed to choosing one or the other, angel on or devil on their shoulder, and they'll definitely start to go those ways in life. High 8s, and an expression number is a pretty weighty number in somebody's chart. So a high 8 is, that means money. It definitely means money. So the dude's got money and he expresses himself that way. He, you know, is probably not very frugal. He probably, and that extends to not just money, but even taking care of things. Like, he probably is like hard on things or doesn't really care if he gets them dirty or that sort of a thing. And 8 is very just use up the resources and not have any respect for what it took to get them. Like, that's very much the mindset of a lot of 8s. Not all, but a lot. So moving on to his personality number. And this is pretty important. So, because it's going to translate into something else, which is what we're going to talk about towards the end. So his personality number, if your expression number is how you do things, your personality number is how you are perceived. All right. So Joe's personality number is a 3, which as a numerologist makes complete sense to me because the 3 is the creative child. So here we have a dude with a lot of power and money who likes to be mothering and loving and mothering, but he's perceived as an immature child because the 3 is the creative child. So he's perceived as like, he is that fun, that young, fun loving type of personality, I guess, but it comes off as creepy. And that's because he's an old man that shouldn't be acting that way. It's okay to be young at heart, but why are you licking and sucking your wife's finger when she's pointing at a rally? Like, ew. Anyways, I digress. But those sort of things where he kind of just goes off the cuff and does something really inappropriate and thinks that's funny, like horse face, donkey monkey, whatever he said to that reporter that one time. Like, what? That's that 3 personality. He's trying to joke around and he's not even near funny. All right, so that's the 3. Now, let's talk a little bit about the 3 being next to the 8. And these readings, I've been doing numerology for about 20 years now, but through these readings and a couple of others and the last week or so, I've really kind of learned another side of my numbers and different attributes and energy. So it's been quite a learning experience and a bit of an awakening, another awakening with my numerology. So that's interesting to me. But I always talk about the 8 and the 3 together because the 8 and the 3 are a super dynamic, tight team. So if you were to take, let me grab a marker here, bear with me, please. If you were to take an 8, and we've got the 8 right there, all right? And then you were to take the 3 and wrap it around the 8. I don't know if it's backwards, if it's an E, you get the point. Can we do it like that? Okay, cool. So you see how the 3 is wrapping around the 8? So that's protection, because I told you the 8 is the most volatile number. If 8s make wise risk decisions, they will be rewarded very handsomely, but they're very risky, or they can be. They have the propensity to be. But with a 3 there, that is a very good protection number for an 8. It wraps around it, so it's going to protect it. The 3 is, even though the 3 is the creative child, I always explain it like this. And I know it's a weird story, but just listen. So let's go ahead and imagine that numbers are people. They all have their different attributes, different colors, different energies, right? So we already talked about the 8 and how volatile and all of that. So it's Christmas time. The family's coming into town, all right? And last year, Aunt 5 and Uncle 8 went out. Well, Aunt 5 and Uncle 8 love each other. They're not even blood. They're family through marriage, but they're best friends. And they love seeing each other every year at Christmas because when they go out, they're going to have an epic time. It's going to be an amazing night. But guess what? Aunt 5 and Uncle 8 are going to jail every single time. Every single time. Probably the most toxic pairing of numbers that you could possibly get, because not only do they spin their energy into trouble, they do it with maximum impact because both of them are so balls to the wall, go hard in a lot of ways. And the 5 is just kind of out there. It's change, it's movement, it's free spirit. It's like, whatever, like, I don't care if we get arrested, it's no big deal. And even though the 8's kind of like a little bit wiser than the 5 sometimes, the 8's not, it's too much fun for them. So instead of Aunt 5 going out with Uncle 8 this year, Mom says to the 20-some-year-old, 3 that's home from college, the young 3 that's home from college, hey, so this year, Aunt 5 and Uncle 8 aren't going out. You're going to go out with Uncle 8 because I need you to make sure that he gets home safe and nobody goes to jail. And so that's exactly what the 3 will do for the 8. It's a protection number. You can just see it covers it. So with this being said, there's a bit of protection over him no matter what, and it's natural and it's there. So this is so important to be aware of and knowledgeable about. And I'll talk about that a little bit more here in a bit. But going forward, the last of our numbers is our heart's desire number, okay? So remember we talked about the 8 and the 5 not being, being the most volatile pair that there is. So our heart's desire number is what we want out of life. It's what we want. So Joe's heart's desire number is a 5. So his expression, it's the most, I thought the 8 and the 5 was like the most volatile pairing. There's only one way that that could be made worse, and that's having the protection of the 3. Because now you've got the hot mess express in a car with nitrous and no cops are around. Like, they're just going to tear up the town. It's going to be really ugly, and they're going to have that protection around them. Do you see that? So it's too much for the 3. The 3 is only going to be able to protect them. And what they're going to do is it's too much energy. So in that regard, the 3 can't take them home. The 3 is going to be hurt with them. So, not a strong chart. Not that I'm unbiased, but just from numbers wise, not really a strong chart to me. But going forward, let's take a look at the opposite of an unstrong chart, which is a strong chart, and that would be Barack Obama's chart. Actually has a very, very, very strong chart. First of all, he's a life path 3. So this tells me that that's why he looks so young still. That's why he's always looked young, and he'll always look much younger for his age. That's why he's always going to have that charisma about him, because not only is the 3 the creative child, but the 3 is that community organizer. It's that one that brings people together. It's that center of that baby boy of the family, so to speak. So he's always going to have that charm to him and that likability. That's what that is. Because it is, even though he's professional, a very, very good orator, and he's very good in how he speaks. Even so, there is sorry, give me a moment. So even though we're professional, we're a great orator, we know how to speak, we know how to community organize, there's still that like baby boy essence to him that makes him attractive, that makes him appealing. It's just like that. It's the youngest son type energy, where that's baby boy. Everybody loves him. And yeah, so that's what that is. So once again, speaking about the 3 and the 8 together, Obama's birth date number is the 4. So he was born on the 4th, August 4th, but he also has an 8 in his chart, August, the month of August. So now 4, I'm a life path 4, very familiar with 4s. Trump is also a life path 4, a 31-4, we'll get into that in a minute. It does matter. Obama's just a regular 4. So what this means is there's no extra elements. There's no depth to that 4. It's just a basic 4. Just the facts, ma'am 4. It's not really meant to do great things, but it's going to be there and do the job. That's a regular 4. Like Dunder Mifflin without Michael Scott. Like, very, like, Office Space. Very, without the comedy. Just very dry, very sterile, very boring, white walls. Which I can't stand. White walls. But so anyways, So we have that 3-4 energy right there, and we're still pulling in that 8 from August. So there is that protection element there. The Once again, the 8 in this regard, that's his everyday energy. So definitely a big money thing there, but it's power. And I keep bringing that in. I keep bringing that in. I keep bringing it in. So he did his job. He did his job, but he didn't do it like he didn't volunteer any hours. He definitely didn't give up a salary. I'm not pulling. I get excited about 4s. I'm not excited about that. But anyways, going on to his expression and his personality, which are both the same number. I'm very familiar with this number too because it's my birthday number. It's the number 1. Okay. So the first original dominant leader, you look at the shape of the 1 and it's a hard stick stuck in the ground. So bottom line, final say, my way or the highway. Okay. Very dominant male energy. But it's also the protector, provider, leader, very much a leader. So with a 4 and a 1 being 2 of my high numbers, I'm always in a management position, except for right now, which I'm doing my own business, which is leadership. So, but other than that, most of my jobs in my life, I'm managing teams. So very much a leadership position, or leadership energies. 4s and 1s, you'll often find yourself in leadership positions just because you are the ones that don't take any crap. Just again, before, everything in its place where it's supposed to be square, right? And the 1 is stuck in the ground like that. The only other hard number is the 7, but the 7 stays in the background, and we'll talk about the 7 at the end. 7's a cool number. But the 1 and the 4 and the leaders, okay? So his expression number, which is again how he does things, is he does things like a leader. Very, very dominant, masculine type of energy. And being that his personality number is a 1 as well, that's how he's perceived. So very different from Mr. Biden here, who his expression number is with the 8. So they have, that number is very much like I said, it's the influencer. He tries to be the influencer and there's money involved in all of that. But his personality is the 3. So that's his personality. That's not his looks. That's not his life path. It's a different 3 from Obama's life path 3. Okay? And so Biden's personality 3 makes him that immature, doing inappropriate stuff personality. That's how he's perceived. Okay? Obama is perceived as that leader that he acts like. Hold on 2 seconds. I didn't get to it in time. My AC went on. So I'll talk louder to make sure everybody can hear me. It'll turn off in a second. Okay, so Obama has an expression of 1. He expresses himself as dominant, and he is perceived as dominant, okay? His heart's desire is 9. So I call the 9 the shapeshifter. 9s have stabbed me in the back a few times. But also 9s are the ones that when you meet them, you don't feel like you're going to be judged because 9 is the shapeshifter. It can translate its energy into every other energy because it's made up of all other numbers. So it very easily relates to other numbers and can translate its energy to theirs and vice versa. So the 9s a lot of times will be asked for advice. They will be the ones that people go to vent. And they're a lot of times subject to energy vampires because of the fact that they do want to give. They do want to help out. But again, the 9 is the shapeshifter. So you have to keep that in mind. And I've learned that lesson here recently, is that you can't really always trust a 9. 9s for the most part are good people, but they have that very much a Scorpio type energy. Okay. All right. So that's Obama. Now, let's dive further into the swamp, shall we? All right. So let's do Miss HRC. I'm going to try not to touch the paper that much. Okay. So basically with Hills, I did 2 different readings because she has a middle name. She's got a middle name. It's Diane. So I did one for just the HRC name, and then I did one for including her middle name of Diane. And I have to say, because it does matter, she does not, this is the first time I ever knew she had the middle name Diane, which I would have remembered. That's my mom's middle name. So I've never heard it before. I don't think a lot of people have. So that means she hasn't used it much, which means she hasn't pushed that energy of the Diane included in her name. So it's going to matter. It's definitely going to make a difference. And it is absolutely her HRC name that is indicative of her energy, very much so. So with that being said, let's go ahead and jump back into that 3 and 8, because what are the first numbers in her HRC number, or actually both of them, because that's her life path and her birth date. Those numbers won't change. Her bottom numbers can change because those are from her name. So not having that Diane in there absolutely impacts the last 3 numbers. Make sense? Okay. So her first numbers, though, that comes from her birth date. That we can't change the day we were born, even if we get married. So that's always going to stay the same. She's a life path 3. Life path 3, interesting, because Mr. Obama was a life path 3 as well, right? And then we remember our little friend Joe with the 3 personality, which makes him a sniffer. So Hillary is a 3 life path as well. And she's an 8 birth date. So what this says to me in this application, it is screaming the protective elements that we talked about before. Okay, is that an E? Is that a 3? She's covered, as is Biden, as is Obama. 3 8s, 3 8s, 3 8s. You can't see them all. I can show you all later if you want. Sorry, this is the Hillary, not the 3. So you'll see 3 8 next to the second life path, 3 8 right there. Okay. Biden 8 3. Biden 8 3. Okay. And then we have that 8 bring down from Obama, from his 8-month. And then his 3 life path. So we have major coverage and protection for them. And that's why they get that's why they get away with a lot of the things that they do. It's protection. It's no, sorry. It's no question to me why she's gotten away with so much. So going down for the rest of her chart here, her expression is a 6, which makes me sick. Just makes me sick. Because the 6 is the love of home and family. When I think of 6, I think of Christmas and traditions and hot cocoa and presents and love and family. The 6 is warm and loving. It's soft. It's very much the 2 and the 6 are the nurturers. So the fact that she expresses herself that way, she expresses herself as a loving nurturer. And we know that. It just, Feels gross to channel. So what we need to do, guys, if it's not obvious, we need to be praying. We need to be setting our intentions and sending energy out daily to break that protection. We've got to intercede. We've got to get that protection off of them. We got to pray for that shield to come down. It's like a force field around them, and it's covering them. And they all have it. I mean, while she's acting like she cares and loves people, she's a 6. I love the family. Traditions are sacred. They're sacred to me. And then we have a personality of 1, which means we're perceived as a leader. Very much perceived as a leader, as a high leader. Very dominant. Dominant energy. She wears the pants, obviously. Yeah, very much fits. And then lastly, her heart's desire. You know what she wants to do? She's a 5. She's into pleasure and indulgence and movies because, again, the 5 is the extracurricular things in life. You can look up any of my videos on my YouTube, which is Rothy Reads Numbers, and you can see whenever I'm talking about the 5, the 5 is the life of the party. The 5 is indulgence. The 5 is promiscuity. The 5 is joy. The 5 is bright and brilliant, sunny, but the 5 can't sit still. The 5 is movement. It's travel. It's the extracurricular things in life that you can't have every day. It's indulgence. So it's pleasure. So she just wants pleasure, her life. Her whole life she wants pleasure. That's what she wants. Look it up. You don't even have to look at my stuff. Look it up online. Go consult a numerologist. I'm telling you, everything that I'm saying is correct. And this is her chart. You can do her chart if you want. You can go online and find the instructions on how to do a chart. It's not very hard. So, we'll go on to our last but not least reading, which is President Trump, Donald John Trump. Like I said, this past week has been an additional awakening to me in so many different ways. But even in numerology, which I'm very knowledgeable and proficient with. So it really just opened up a different side of numbers in a great way for Trump. And with these ones, and again, you can look at my videos. I'm always talking about how much I love the 3 and the 8, how much I love the 3 and the 8. But if you have a 3 and an 8, that's 3 and an 8 can be bad too. I guess in how we all choose to be. But, you know, the one thing that I said when I did Trump's reading was I was like, before I did this, I was like, he's got to have 1s, 4s. Of course, I know he's a 4 because I'm a life path 4, and he's one of the people I talk about when I give readings and how life paths work. So I also like the fact that we're the same number, and I very much relate with a lot of his attributes, of course. But I was very surprised at his other numbers because I really underestimated them. And no, he didn't have a 4, he didn't have a 1, and he didn't have an 8. I mean, how are you going to be Donald J. Trump and not have an 8 in your chart? That's crazy to me as a numerologist. Like, what? 8 is power, money, and karma. It's the most powerful number in all of numerology. What are you talking about? Trump doesn't have an 8 in his chart, but he doesn't. But wonderful, you know, what I came to see is that the right pairing of numbers can be magic. It can be absolute magic, and I'm getting goosebumps just talking about it, but let me go on further. Okay, so let's talk about that 4 again. The 4 is not going to put up with any BS, guys. The 4 is very, again, everything in the lines where it's supposed to be, okay? It's not curvy. We're not a whimsical, flimsy, squishy type of shape. We're very hard lines, rigid, okay? So not taking any bullshit. That's Trump, all right? And that's me at the end of the day, too. Like anybody that I know, you can ask them. Like I have very little tolerance. And so anyways, moving forward, let's talk about his birth date and his expression number because they're both the same. By the way, his next numbers, he has 2 duplicates. So he has only 2 more numbers and they're both duplicated throughout his chart, which is very interesting. So his birth date number and his expression number are that 5. Now remember, 5 is travel, money, excitement, energy, pleasure. And yeah, we've seen that in his life. Trump loves him some women, but he loves women. Foreign women, but he loves women. Okay. It's kind of a natural thing for a man, to be honest with you. I don't know. Most of us have not. I've never been married, but I know most married people have been divorced. So I don't judge anybody on that personally, but he does love pleasure. And he expresses himself. So the heart's desire 5 of Hillary is like, that's my heart's desire. I want pleasure. I want to travel. I want movement. I want indulgence. Trump's 5s, first of all, his everyday energy is indulgence. It's energy, it's excitement, life of the party, and constantly going, bright sunshine, all of that, and at the same time, it is pleasure. We see him on his plane eating his KFC, so he likes to indulge too. But it's kind of more of like that's not his heart's desire. That's the everyday energy he was born with. So it's not like he's overindulging. He's not like, I live to indulge. A heart's desire 5 is like, I live to indulge. I live for pleasure. I live for the things in life that you can't have every day. You can't have ice cream for breakfast every day. That's a heart desire 5. Okay? So also the expression number of 5 here, which is pretty interesting. Expression is how we present ourselves, like how we do things. So he does things dynamically. He has that very free spirit with things, and yet at the same time, that 4 is keeping him in structure. The 4 is also the builder, which is also very interesting. I mean, he started out as the builder, real estate developer, and he built his brands throughout the years. But the 4 is also justice. And in a life path, I know this, in a life path, you don't really exhibit most of the energies until towards the latter years of your life. Most of us anyways, kind of like a Colonel Sanders type story, which is very, very parallel in his chart, and that he did have that building energy all of his life and throughout his life, but now in his latter years, he's moving to the justice, or he's moved to the justice. So we kind of see how that life path energy works out and how it's supposed to go for most people in a life path. Okay, so going back to, sorry, I'm a little bit ADD sometimes, I just go with the energy. So going back to the expression of 5, he does express himself with a lot of energy. I think that this is, aside from being just very smart, I think that the secret, a big secret to his success has been his charisma, is the word that I want to use. 5 is charisma. 5 is just bringing forth that, I'm getting goosebumps, bringing forth that energy of, I'm excited about this sale. I'm excited to tell you about this opportunity. This is great. It's going to be huge. That's so 5 energy right there. It's going to be huge. So 5. All right. Selling the deal, selling the product, selling like it's convincing, or it's very much that exuberance. So when you want to sell something, or when you want to convince somebody of something, you want to apply that 5 energy, because that's going to bring that excitement and charisma to whatever you're doing. So if that means for certain people, maybe not high 8s, but for certain people, maybe plan business meetings or things like that where you're looking to have a lot of charisma, maybe plan them on a 5 or a 23. because 2 plus 3 equals 5. So look into, as you get to know numerology, that's how you can start to see life and how you can start to read the numbers through life and then use numerology to plan out really important things in life sometimes. So just kind of a little tidbit about how you can use it. All right. So moving on. So his personality number and his heart's desire number are once again the same thing. And it's the beautiful number 7. 7 is the number of the divine. 7 is the number of, it is the number of ambiguity in ways. It is secrets. But it's secrets for protection, not secrets to hurt anybody. A 7 is one that's in the background, and it's very much paying attention to everything going on, and it's storing it away. And even though we might talk to this person here in the room, we're never taking our eyes off of everything going on. And we're not going to tell this person, even if this is our assistant or our vice president or whomever, there's still going to be some information that nobody knows but him. Even his key people, there will always be, and that I think is the key to his brilliance in this. 7 is brilliance. 7 is perfection. It's also a number of perfection. It's a number of precision. It is a number, and it's also the P is a 7 in the alphabet chart of numerology. You go through 1 through 9, and every letter has a number assigned to it. And the P is the 7. That really rings true to me in readings. But 7 is also, it's not the 4 or the 1 as far as leadership goes, because the 7 wants to have a back seat. The 7 wants to, again, keep their eyes on what's going on so that they can pull strings from the back of the room to make things go. And they can see the entire picture of what's going on. All right? So, but the 7 is also, it's also a number of protection, because if you see, I know it's dark, it's like there's a ledge there. If it's a 7, there's like a little roof, right? So a 7 is huge on protection. 7 and 3 are the protector numbers, all right? 7's a big protector. 7 can protect any number, because it's a 7, it's right over it. Nothing's going to fall on that number if a 7 is there. Does that make sense? So, with all of this being said, I was blown away by Trump's chart because, once again, I was expecting that 1, that 4, and that 8. Of course, I knew he had the 4. But it made me think back to, I'm a huge Cowboys fan, lifelong Cowboys fan. Go Big D, hopefully this year. And another life path 4, a 31-4, that I love to speak about is Dak Prescott, because not only is he my quarterback and the most amazing quarterback in the NFL, but he's also the leader of the team. And he's quite a dynamic leader, even though he's not crazy, like super excitement crazy. Zeke, on the other hand, and a lot of them, tons of high 8s on the Cowboys. Tons of high 8s. Leighton Vander Esch. Jalen's got high 8s. Antoine, what's his name, has high 8s. There's a lot of them. Amari Cooper, I believe, has high 8s. And so on and so forth. I did a lot of their charts, obviously. But the team is full of high 8s. And you would think, well, power, money, karma, that's going to, the influencers, the manifestors, well, that's great. But when it comes down to between an 8 and a 4, even though the 4 is a beautiful and the best partner, the best pairing for an 8, you couldn't get any better for an 8 than a 4, okay? It won't be as great for a 4 with some 8s, but a 4 is always going to be great to an 8, okay? So with that being said, Dak is the leader because he's got that structure. He's that builder, that team builder, everything in line, in place where it's supposed to be. Dak is notorious for going to work out and practice on days they're supposed to take off. He's a monster with it. He is determined, and he is going to build that team, and he's going to build that success. So I very much like seeing that, because with all the eights in here, with these ones, the 4 is going to lead. The 4 has to lead. The 4 always leads over 8s. Always. The 8 doesn't have the ability to coordinate and organize and keep it together like the 4 does. Additionally, when you have that structure, you have that well-built machine, strong, sturdy, well-oiled, and then you have that exuberance and that charisma of the double 5s right behind it. So that's like nitrous rocket fuel to that 4-engine machine, okay? And then under that, you have the 7 protection, perfection, analysis. 7 is also science and analysis. So this is where his brilliance and his strategy comes from. I'm getting goosebumps again. It's a great chart, and I know it's probably not that big of a deal to you, but for me to look at these numbers that I really underestimated for such a long time, and to see how together, how they're working, is really just been another awakening for me as a numerologist. I'm grateful for that, and I'm very encouraged by it, and it just makes sense. Absolutely everything falls into line with this on all 4 of them, you know? So take heart, my friends. Be encouraged. We have a great leader. He knows what he's doing. He's brilliant. He's got it together. He's got that charisma, and we've got quite a freight train running. All right, so let's keep it going. I want to ask you all to... This is going to take some work. We've got to break these strongholds. We've got to break these coverings that these 3 have. These have protection. They have crazy protection. All right, with the 3. It doesn't just cover, it wraps around. They're surrounded by protection. So we got to get that out of there, okay? We have scheduled intercession prayers and intention sessions for the kids and women in captivity, the ones literally there right now, next in line, the ones that we worry, the ones that we're wanting it to happen for quickly because they're right there next. Those ones, we're praying intercession for them twice a day. If you want more information about that, we're doing it by region. We've got a whole bunch of people that are taking at least 15 to 30 minutes of their day, twice a day, to just send out protection and safety and liberation and freedom for them, okay? And sending them light and love and love and light. And that's exactly what I send to you guys as well. Again, my name is Sarah. You can find more out about my numerology at Rothy Reads Numbers on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. I'm more than happy to answer anybody's questions if you have any. Thank you so much for watching. Everybody have a good night. Love ya. Bye.